Tonight on Silent Fame, we're counting down 10 Hollywood men in their 40s who prove leading man was never meant to be straight only. Clean jawlines, dangerous charm, and the hidden cost behind the glow. Closets, rumors, threats, and careers built in silence until they finally chose truth. Watch closely. The hottest part isn't the body, it's the survival. Ready? Let's begin. 1. Andrew Scott, or the hot priest who made restraint feel illegal. Some men are handsome. Andrew Scott is magnetic. It's the kind of face that looks soft in candlelight and dangerous in daylight. Sharp cheekbones, tired poet eyes, and that quiet half smile that makes the camera linger like it's breaking a rule. Long before the memes, he was the actor directors called when they needed intensity, the kind that can turn a whisper into a weapon. Sherlock made him unforgettable. Fleabag made him a global fever dream. And here's what people forget: that hot priest heat didn't come from skin. It came from restraint. 2 steps away from touching, 1 breath away from confessing. It was the same tension he'd been carrying off screen for years. Because in the old Hollywood equation, being a leading man meant being available to a fantasy. And queerness was treated like a crack in the glass. So he lived in that glass closet haze. Industry whispers, careful interviews, fan edits shipping him with women on screen while strangers demanded receipts about his real life. The pressure wasn't just curiosity, it was control. If you didn't label yourself the way they wanted, you were hiding. If you did, you were making it your whole personality. Either way, people felt entitled to judge. When Andrew pushed back, questioning why openly gay is even a label people need, he lit a fuse. Suddenly, it wasn't about acting. It was about whether he owed the public a confession. The backlash cycles came fast. Conservative outrage over a priest being desired, nasty DMs, cheap headlines, think pieces policing how a gay man is allowed to be sexy. That's the quiet violence of fame, the way it turns your boundaries into a debate. But Andrew's rebellion is simple. He refuses to beg for permission. He keeps the door half closed, and somehow that makes him hotter and freer. And if you've ever been told your truth should be quieter, you know exactly why that hits. Is Andrew's privacy a power move, or should public figures owe the audience more honesty? Drop a 1 in the comments and hit subscribe so Silent Fame keeps the light on the stories they tried to keep in the dark. 2. Luke Evans, the action hero who refused to play straight for a paycheck. Luke Evans walks like a man built for a poster. Broad-shouldered, jaw carved like it was designed by an artist who hates weak men, and eyes that can flip from charming to lethal in a single cut. Hollywood loves to sell that kind of masculinity as untouchable. The twist is, Luke is openly gay and he still made it through the blockbuster gates. But it didn't come easy. Before the franchises and red carpets, his life was shaped by a strict religious upbringing in a small Welsh world where being gay wasn't a personal detail, it was a threat to your belonging. Imagine growing up believing love could cost you your family, your community, your future. That kind of fear doesn't vanish when you book a movie. It just changes costumes. When Luke stepped into Hollywood, the whispers started. People on the internet acted like they owned his identity. Is he out enough? Is he hiding? Does an action star have to be straight to be believable? And that pressure creates a cruel trap. Say nothing and you're accused of lying. Say something and you risk becoming the headline instead of the talent. Luke has described that collision of visibility and privacy, and in his memoir, he finally put the old panic on paper. The survival instincts you develop when your truth once felt dangerous? Then he did something that scares the old guard. He reclaimed the narrative. He spoke more openly, leaned into roles that didn't apologize, and proved you can be the tough guy without pretending. Even now, you still see the backlash. Comment sections full of "keep it to yourself," as if straightness has never been shoved in our faces for a century. And yet, Luke keeps leveling up. That's the real flex. Not just the body, not just the voice, not just the swagger. It's surviving an industry that once demanded silence and staying undeniably hot anyway. He made the pairing look inevitable. Did Luke Evans kill the myth that masculinity belongs to straight men? Or is Hollywood only okay with it when you look like a superhero? Drop a 2 in the comments and subscribe to Silent Fame for the stories they tried to erase. 3. Zachary Quinto, the sharp-edged heartthrob who came out when silence felt like blood. Zachary Quinto doesn't do cute. He does precision. The cheekbones, the clean lines, the stare that looks like it could freeze a room. He's the kind of handsome that feels expensive and slightly dangerous. When he became Spock, he turned restraint into sex appeal. Controlled, unreadable, and somehow hotter because you can't fully reach him. But behind that control was the same old Hollywood math. Don't give them anything they can use against you. For years, the rumors swirled like smoke. Bloggers, paparazzi, strangers, treating a person's identity like a trivia question. That's the cruel part of the glass closet. You're not free, you're just unconfirmed. You learn to dodge questions with a smile, to keep your private life out of casting rooms, to wonder which roles would disappear the second a producer decided the audience won't buy it. And the fandom pressure? Brutal. Sci-fi worlds preach inclusion, but the real world still has people who panic when a hero isn't straight. The fear isn't always said out loud. It's implied. Don't make it a thing. Don't hand them a reason. Let them keep their fantasy. That's how closets stay alive, not just through hate, but through polite professional silence. Then a tragedy cracked the mask. In 2011, after news spread about a bullied gay teen's suicide, Quinto publicly came out. Not with fireworks, with grief, with urgency, with a line in the sand. Silence wasn't neutral anymore. And once you say it out loud, the hate gets louder too. Sneering comments, moral lectures, people who never cared about your acting suddenly feeling entitled to judge your existence. Here's what makes him Silent Fame. He didn't soften to be palatable. He stayed sharp. He kept choosing bold, complex work and building a career that refuses to shrink. He proved you can be intellectual, masculine, vulnerable, and gay without becoming a punchline or a PR product. Was Zachary's coming out personal liberation or quiet protest against an industry that profits from our silence? 4. Russell Tovey, the lad who turned shame into heat. Russell Tovey is the kind of masculine that doesn't feel manufactured. Real hot, athletic build, rough-edged charm, that London lad energy that makes you think he could joke with you in public, then be fiercely loyal in private. The camera loves him because he doesn't perform sexy. He just exists. But the grin hides an old warning a lot of men grow up with. Don't be too gay. That pressure doesn't only come from bullies, it comes from the air, mate culture, family expectations, the unspoken rule that a man can be anything except soft. And if you're ambitious, you learn quickly that success can come with a price tag: silence. Now add fame. The moment you're known, people start treating your identity like a public trial. If you're private, they call it hiding. If you're open, they call it making it your whole personality. If you date, it's PR. If you don't, it's sad. That's the trap. You can't win, you can only endure. The drama is that visibility can feel like a target. Comment sections become a courtroom. Strangers decide what kind of gay man you're allowed to be, masculine but not tender, confident but not too much. And Russell keeps choosing roles that push back. Men with contradictions, strong and wounded, tough and vulnerable, like a quiet answer to every stereotype. So here's the silent fame question. After fighting that hard just to exist out loud, doesn't he deserve happiness more than anyone? Or does fame always come with a punishment? Drop a 4 if Russell's honesty makes him even hotter. And tell me, does the world actually let gay men be masculine and emotionally open? Hit subscribe so these stories don't get buried. 5. Ben Whishaw, the beautiful ghost, Hollywood tried to keep small. Ben Whishaw is dangerous elegance. Not loud hot, quiet hot, soft features, sharp intelligence, that calm intensity that feels like a secret you weren't meant to know. He's the kind of handsome that doesn't chase attention. Attention chases him. And that's why his story stings. For years, the industry treated queer truth like a liability. Ben has spoken about the old message, don't talk about it. Not because it was private, but because it was bad for business. Imagine being talented enough to carry a project, yet still being told one part of you could ruin the fantasy. That's not advice, that's a cage. The cruel part is how quiet that cage is. No big villain, just meetings, smiles, we love you, but casting rooms where you feel the unspoken question hovering. Interviews steered away from anything personal, like it's a hazard. You're celebrated, but only in pieces. And then privacy turns into a magnet. The less you share, the more people demand. Boundaries get mistaken for mystery, and mystery becomes an invitation. If you've ever had to protect yourself, you know that feeling. Everyone wants the truth, but few care what it costs you to guard it. Still, Ben survived it. He built a career on skill, not spectacle. Roles that prove depth and danger without turning his identity into a product. That's the revenge. He didn't explode for attention. He endured. So ask yourself, after all that silence, does he deserve a life that finally feels soft and safe? Or is the world addicted to keeping men like him slightly out of reach? Drop a 5 if you think Ben's restraint is strength, not weakness, and subscribe for more stories where quiet power wins. 6. Jonathan Groff, the golden boy they tried to break. Jonathan Groff looks like the kind of man the universe designed to be loved. Warm smile, kind eyes, and a body that reads sweet until you notice the discipline underneath. He's wholesome and magnetic at the same time. And that balance makes people underestimate him. Until they remember what the industry did to him. There was a time when mainstream media said the quiet part out loud. An openly gay man might not be believable as a straight romantic lead. Jonathan became one of the names used in that argument, like a test case, like a warning label. Imagine being young, gifted, and watching strangers debate whether your identity makes you less of a man on screen. That kind of cruelty doesn't just hurt, it rewires you. The tragedy isn't only what they said, it's what it forces you to do after. Work harder, be nicer, be undeniable. Jonathan's career became a revenge story written in excellence, TV, film, Broadway, proving range so loudly the old claims started sounding embarrassing. And there's a deeper pressure too. Don't be too much. Not too emotional, not too gay, not too visible. He's talked about the importance of coming out on his own terms, because for so many before him, that choice got stolen by gossip and rumor mills. But look at him now. He's not surviving. He's winning, leading, turning the same world that doubted him into an audience that has to applaud. So here's the question that matters. After someone spends years proving they deserve space, do they ever get to stop proving it? And after everything he took, doesn't he deserve happiness? Drop a 6 if Jonathan's story feels like justice. 7. Dan Levy. The soft-spoken heartthrob who made Quiet Power. Dan Levy isn't the kind of hot that kicks the door down. He's the kind that walks in, adjusts his jacket, and suddenly the whole room reorients. Sharp styling, that expensive, unreadable calm, the eyes that look like they're clocking everything, and choosing not to react. It's not gym thirst, it's authority thirst. The kind of attraction that comes from someone who knows exactly who he is and doesn't need your permission. But Dan's ease wasn't handed to him. He grew up under a microscope with a famous last name, meaning expectations came pre-installed. Then he chose a harder path. Not just being out, but being out without apologizing, without turning queerness into a tragedy parade. That sounds empowering, until you realize the backlash that comes with it. Because the moment you stop performing pain for the public, people get angry. Some viewers love the warmth of Schitt's Creek. Others attacked it for being too unrealistic, like a world where queer love isn't punished must be fantasy. Think about how dark that is. Happiness is treated like propaganda. And the controversy follows him in a quieter way too. Dan has spoken about not wanting to be boxed into one version of queerness because Hollywood loves types. The safe gay, the funny gay, the tragic gay. The second you step outside the approved template, people start trying to drag you back in. Online, you'll see it. Accusations that he's not gay enough, or too gay, or too privileged, or too sensitive. It's the same old policing, just wearing progressive clothes. Here's the silent fame secret. Dan's real rebellion is that he made mainstream audiences fall in love with queer characters without giving them suffering as the entry fee. That's why he's dangerous to the old system. Because if joy sells, then the industry can't keep using trauma as the only ticket to visibility. So ask yourself, why does a confident, successful gay man still trigger so many debates? Maybe because Dan represents a future where queer men aren't sidekicks, aren't cautionary tales. They're the center of the story, loved out loud. Drop a 7 and hit subscribe so Silent Fame keeps defending happiness like it's revolutionary. 8. Billy Eichner, the fire starter who took the hit for a gay rom-com. Billy Eichner has a different kind of hotness, sharp, loud, reckless in the best way. It's the confidence of a man who doesn't flirt, he dares you. Quick mouth, bright eyes, that energy like he's one joke away from lighting the room on fire. He's not trying to be everybody's fantasy, and somehow that makes him addictive to watch. But behind the comedy is a bruising reality. Billy stepped into history with Bros, a major studio gay rom-com with an openly queer cast. And when the box office didn't explode, the conversation turned ugly fast. Suddenly, it wasn't just a movie underperforming. It became a debate about whether America shows up for queer leads or only supports us in tweets. Billy said out loud what a lot of people were thinking. Straight audiences didn't come the way they needed to, and the backlash hit like a wave. Some called him bitter. Some said he was blaming the public. Others accused him of hurting the cause by admitting the truth. And that's the tragedy. When queer creators are honest about the industry's limits, they get punished for honesty. Hollywood loves representation, as long as it doesn't create uncomfortable questions about who actually buys tickets. Here's the drama hook. Billy became a punching bag for a system bigger than him. Because if Bros fails, studios can whisper, "See, gay leads aren't profitable." That's the threat. And imagine carrying that weight, knowing your project isn't just entertainment. It's a test case executives use to decide whether people like you deserve budgets again. But Billy didn't fold. He leaned in. He kept talking, kept creating, kept refusing to soften his edges to make the world comfortable. That's his silent fame power. He's proof that being loud is sometimes the only way to survive a machine built to quietly erase you. So tell me, did Billy deserve to be dragged for telling the truth? Or does everyone, even queer creators, deserve the right to fail without becoming a warning label for the whole community? 9. Ben Aldridge, the man who finally breathed. Ben Aldridge is the kind of handsome Hollywood photographs like a promise. Clean cut, classic leading man face, calm voice, that gentle confidence that makes people lean closer. He can look like the perfect boyfriend in one scene and the man you'd trust with your secrets in the next. And that's exactly why his story stings. Men like him were trained to believe their truth could cost them everything. For years, Ben played the industry game. Keep it vague, keep it tidy. Keep your private life locked down. Not because he was ashamed, but because he was warned. He's talked about being told that coming out could ruin things, change how casting directors saw him, and shrink the kinds of roles he'd be offered. Imagine carrying that fear like a second job. Every opportunity feeling like it comes with a silent condition. Don't make them uncomfortable. So when he came out publicly, it wasn't a celebration. It was relief mixed with risk. And like clockwork, the internet did what it always does. Some applauded him, others tried to punish him. Cheap comments, moral lectures, people acting like a gay man's existence is something they get to grade. Here's the twist that keeps viewers hooked. Once he stopped hiding, he didn't shrink. He expanded. Bigger roles, deeper characters, projects where queerness isn't a punchline or a tragedy device, but a real human dimension. It's almost like the truth didn't damage his career. It unlocked it. Which raises the debate. Did Hollywood finally change? Or did Ben simply stop letting fear manage his life? Silent fame question. After all that self-censorship, doesn't he deserve happiness? Or do we still punish gay men the moment they become too real? Drop a 9 if you've ever hidden parts of yourself to be acceptable. And subscribe to Silent Fame. We're not letting these stories vanish again. 10. Juan Pablo Di Pace, Hot Jesus, who turned thirst into truth. Juan Pablo Di Pace has screen presence that feels like heat without trying. Dark eyes, classic Latin charm, a smile that flips from sweet to devastating in seconds. The internet once labeled him Hot Jesus, turning him into a meme and a fantasy. But the part that matters is what the meme couldn't show. The cost of being desired while staying careful with the truth. For him, beauty didn't automatically equal safety. It meant being watched, knowing one headline could make casting directors nervous, especially in roles tied to machismo, religion, or family-friendly branding. So he lived in that familiar tension, open in real life, cautious in public, because visibility can be a weapon. Then came the turn that's pure silent fame. He came out through a TEDx talk, no scandal, just a story. He spoke about slurs, shame, and learning to accept himself. He even described how playing Jesus, being adored on screen while conflicted inside, pushed him towards self-love. That's cinematic irony at its sharpest. And instead of staying trapped in other people's scripts, he started writing his own. He moved into filmmaking, creating work inspired by his first love and the life he had to protect. That's the glow-up Hollywood can't manufacture. Not just hotter, freer. So here's the close. These men aren't late. They're proof survival has a second act. They carried the weight of an era that punished honesty and still built careers, dignity, and hope. Drop a 10 if this episode made you feel seen. And that's the list. 10 men who didn't just age into their power, they fought for it. If any story hit you, drop the number in the comments and tell me, did Hollywood really change, or did these men simply outlast the prejudice? Everyone deserves happiness without having to earn it by suffering first. If you want more stories they tried to silence, hit like, subscribe, and join Silent Fame.